Hello, this is Wmpyr, here to talk to you guys about knife boxing once again. Um, so, with knife boxing, there's two things that I want to cover today. Okay, the first part is safety, and I know that sounds super boring, but actually, it's really cool because the person that understands safety to me is like you have two soldiers, one's a beginner and the other one's a veteran. And the veteran is the one that's going to be like, I wouldn't do that. Like they have the experience, they have the knowledge, so they know not to do certain things. That is what I'm talking about the safety. And we'll go into more detail there. The second part of the video, I want to share with you guys technical aspects that will improve your body mechanics for boxing, specifically for knife boxing, and it'll back up the first, which is once again the safety issue. Okay, so those are the two things I want to cover. The first part, safety. What do I mean by safety? I mean that it's dangerous handling a knife, and I'm not talking about when I have a knife, it's dangerous for the bad guy because, you know, this is a knife and it could do a lot of damage. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about me, the user, the person using the knife. It's actually dangerous to me. So I want to make sure that I'm going to be 100% safe using this tool so that I could be 100% effective or as close as possible to 100%. That is my goal. That is what I should be doing in training, is to be able to maximize the usage of this. And in order to do that, I need to be safe with it. If I'm reckless with this, then I am a threat to myself and I'm helping the other guy beat me. And that makes no sense whatsoever. So we need to make sure, we need to 100%, as much as possible, make the efforts to make sure that we can handle this as safely as possible. Okay. And people, I think, underestimate how dangerous this is to the user. And there's only really one way to find out, because I know most people are going to be like, yeah, Wmpyr, I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to cut myself, right? And the answer to that is you really don't know unless you've taken a lot of efforts to train that way. And if you haven't, then you're just talking and you got no way to back that up. You go, well, I've handled a knife all my life and I'm familiar with knives and I'm always cautious. I have a very a calm personality. None of those things are going to help. Okay. Or it's none of those things are enough. We are talking about combat pressure. So when you're utilizing combat force, real life force, suddenly things are different. Okay. And in that case, there's only one way to train for that. And what I recommend is, in the Philippines, what they do is they use a tire and you shadow box with combat force, and then you actually make contact with the tire. So two two exercises. One is actually practice all your combos that you intend to do with the knife, but don't just do it like this. I mean put in the ish like that, you know. Ish, you know, put in all that effort, pretend like it's a real life. You have to use your imagination, and maybe even before you start, like, let that adrenaline kind of kick in for you, and then clock yourself for like 3 minutes, right? So do that shadow boxing, and then also do that against the tire. Make sure you use a training knife because it is dangerous. And I would say about 3 months, minimum 3 months of doing that several times a week, okay? And you will notice that, yes, you do cut yourself. There are times where you just notice that, oh, if this was a real knife, I would have cut myself. And that's super important. Most people ignore that. They ignore that because during the shadow boxing and also during the target practice where you're actually making contact to the tire, there's so much to work on, like footwork. What combos are you using? What combos are you working on? The breathing, saving your stamina, managing your energy expenditure, all those kinds of things. There's so many stuff to work on that people focus on that rather than if you would have cut yourself. Like it's like you come back like this, whoa, that was dangerously close to me. Okay. When you notice that, you need to really, really pay attention to that and prioritize that. That's more important than any of the other stuff that I mentioned about footwork, technique, combos, your body mechanics, your stamina management. You cutting yourself will terminate all of that because it's going to end the match or the real life situation. You've just possibly help defeat yourself. Okay, therefore, this is more important than any of that other stuff. Who cares if your footwork's a little off or your body mechanic's not that great, as long as you're safe. Let's say you are not safe and you have great footwork, you got great body mechanics, you gonna, at some point in time, you will finish yourself or help finish yourself. So that's why we have to prioritize that. And when we go to traditional Escrima training, we use double sticks. And you're flinging around the double sticks. You're doing these multiple patterns put together, and you're free flowing, and you're trying to be as smooth as possible, and you're using these chaotic movements and complex movements, and being ambidextrous. And there are times where your sticks are going to collide. Both sticks will boom, they'll hit each other. That is a huge no-no, and normally in your training, that's why I recommend double sticks, is with your double sticks, it'll amplify that. So when that happens, you go, oh, you immediately stop and go, what did I need to not let that happen. And correct yourself and start over, okay? And make it as smooth as possible where that does not happen, okay? I don't care, you put in the speed, put in the power, whatever, but make sure that the sticks do not collide without, because there are some techniques where they're supposed to collide. So I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about where they accidentally collide. You didn't mean to make them hit, but they hit each other. Those are all lessons to help you, because if you're doing that with the double sticks, you go to, I don't care if it's single knife, it doesn't even have to be double knife, but with single knife, that there is a high chance that you're going to cut yourself like that. So that is a huge, huge lesson right there that you need to prioritize 100%. Okay, so you got to not underestimate how dangerous this is to you. And the second part, the techniques, the technical aspect that I'd like to share with you guys is the concept of planes. Okay, so there is a right plane, a left plane, a top plane, and a bottom plane. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 different planes. And the idea is, as long as your hands are in separate planes, then it's going to be safer for you. Okay, so the moment both hands are in the same plane, whether it's going outwards or coming back in, there's a danger. There's a danger right there, as you guys can see, whether this happens or this happens. You hit yourself like that, okay? So keep them in separate planes. Now, when you're throwing rapid fire combos with force, then you're going to notice that it's much, much more difficult to keep this plane concept. And that's why you got to practice it, okay? Because if you're going nice and easy and slow, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's no problem. My hands don't cross planes, no problem. Yeah, wait till you put in combat force, okay? Shadow boxing and also hitting the actual tire, an actual target. Try it. Once you do it, you're going to notice that all of a sudden your form's not as great as you thought you were, and you're going to be in danger of cutting yourself. So then you just have to go back and correct it and be more meticulous about keeping your hands in separate planes. So top plane, bottom plane, top plane, bottom plane, right, left, right, left. It's uppercut, okay, and hook. Whatever it is you're doing, keep them in different planes. Now we have left, right, but this can also be tilted. This can also be tilted. So it's not completely like this where it's top, bottom. It's here. So this is diagonal. This is diagonal, okay? So you could also do diagonals right here, where it's not 100% here, not 100% here. So it's in between. So you could also do diagonal planes, which we do a lot in Filipino martial arts. But there's one more relationship with the planes that I want to mention to you guys, and that is, come this way, outer plane and inner plane. Okay, so when does this come into play? This will come into play. So if my hand, like if I'm throwing a hook over here, okay, or a more longer range uppercut, this is in the outer plane. And this hand over here is working here. So boom and boom. So if you look right here, even though this is they're on the same line, okay? They're on the same line together right here. This is okay. They're on different planes because this plane is back here and this plane is over here. So they're two separate planes. Okay, so I could be throwing a hook here, I could be throwing an uppercut here. It's okay. They're not going to mix, even though they're on the same line. All right. So that's another thing to think about. So that'll make your plane not just left, right, top, bottom, and diagonals. You also, now we made it more 3D. So if you keep the concept of the planes, keeping your hands in separate planes, you're going to be operating much safer, and that is something to do in your shadow boxing. And it might take a little while. It might be a little awkward at first, but I highly recommend that you guys practice that, and all of a sudden you'll be able to go from empty hands to blade, back to empty hands, no problem, back and forth, and you will be doing great. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.